A concession is a 100% negotiable offer. It's not a blanket amount that's guaranteed to anybody. It's an offer. Hey, it's Andrew here. I'm a mortgage lender here in California and I sell real estate in San Diego. Now, what I want to talk about today is the difference between a buyer agent commission and a seller concession or credit to a buyer. The biggest difference in these two terms, concessions or commissions, is one, the commission was guaranteed through the MLS, paid directly to the agent from the sale of the property at closing. A concession, however, is a 100% negotiable offer. It's not a blanket amount that's guaranteed to anybody. It's an offer. And that offer, let's say it's 5% of the sale price. When you place your offer, you could ask for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%, whatever. I ask for the most, why not, right? You ask for all 5. Let's say you get it, they take your offer and they agree to pay you a 5% concession. You could pay your agent whatever you agreed to pay them on your buyer agency agreement. Say that's 2 or 3%. You take that away, now you have what's left. What's left is most likely going to be what would be given to you for any type of credits or closing costs or anything else negotiable. Here's where this big challenge comes up with the NAR settlement, these changes coming August 17th. If you're hearing about this and agents are saying it's not official yet, that does not matter. The changes that are being updated on August 17th are to protect the MLSs and NAR from future lawsuits. Those changes are happening regardless of what happens with this lawsuit and whenever the judge finally signs off. They're changing the rules because they need to protect themselves so they don't end up getting sued again for another $500 million. So if the agents you're talking to are saying it's not a big deal, we're business as usual, are we? I don't know. But those changes are happening regardless. Now, what you need to understand as a buyer, if you place an offer for this property and then you ask for some type of seller concession, which is the term we're using right now, to help pay for your agent's commission, which you've agreed to pay for, that is 100% legal. It works just fine. But what you have to remember is, let's say you offer $800,000 to purchase the home, and then you ask for a seller concession of 3%, that's $24,000 paid to your agent. You ask for that 3% concession. The seller agrees to give you 3% of the purchase price. You as the buyer, now you have this money. It's not given to your agent. It's not the seller paying the agent. It's the seller agreeing to give you this money inside of escrow. And you look at what you've agreed to pay your agent in your contract, and let's say that's 3%. So you take that 24 grand and you pay them. And then a week later, you find out that there are important repairs to this house. The normal process would be place your offer, do an inspection, make a request for repairs for either the seller to repair and replace or a flat credit, and you'll do it yourself after closing, which has tended to be the most common way to handle this, especially post-COVID, because there just wasn't people able to get out and fix a home before escrow would close. So it made a lot more sense to just get a credit, which has carried on because it is easier for everyone. The buyer gets the credit, the buyer gets to pick all their service providers on their own timeline after they own the house. So you want a credit for these repairs, whatever they might be. The seller turns around and says, look, I just gave you 3% of the purchase price, $24,000. I'm not giving you another 3, 4, 5, 6,000, whatever it might be, to pay for these repairs. Now the problem that you have is the seller was negotiable and gave you 24 grand, 3% of the sale price, and you turned around and gave it to your agent that told you that they were going to get paid by the seller, which essentially at this time is correct. They negotiated, the seller agreed to pay the 3%, you're agreeing to pay them. But all of a sudden you need another $6,000 or another pile of money over here to fix these repairs for the house that you're buying. You're buying a house at retail. You want it to essentially be in some type of, good retail condition. You're not buying a fixer-upper knowing that I'm adopting or I'm inheriting a bunch of problems. You're buying a move-in ready house, which means health and safety things should be taken care of. Now what do? You just gave all that money to your buyer's agent. The seller's saying, I'm not giving up anymore. As a buyer, what are your options? Walk away, ask your buyer's agent to pay you. You're in contract with them to pay them 3%. They told you that you wouldn't pay anything and we would just look at houses where the seller was going to pay, which ultimately that is true, but there's still $6,000 here that you're looking for that's missing. This agent's getting $24,000 and you're potentially going to lose this house over $4,000, $5,000, or $6,000 of repairs. How does that make any sense? We can't blame the seller because they offered, $24,000. Now, if we backed up 6 months ago, a year ago, that $24,000 would have been baked into the sell side of it, and we wouldn't have this conversation. You'd only be negotiating for the $6,000 of repairs. Your buyer's agent most likely would be accepting of whatever the seller was offering, and they wouldn't ask you for anything. Now, that's also negotiable. It always has been, but commonly most buyer's agents were taking whatever was being offered from the sell side because it was generally enough money and it made the purchase simple. Would buyer's agents love to get paid more? I think anybody in life would like to get paid more than whatever they earn. So again, that's not a real estate thing, being greedy or shady or nothing. It's just human nature. We want as much as we can get for the work that we do. But under these new rules, the side effects of what's going to happen and how this is changing really does affect you as a buyer. You now have to worry about how much you can pay your buyer's agent, which ultimately is a fair thing, I think. You should pay for your services. You pay for all the services of everything else in the contract, in the purchase, title, escrow, your lender fees, all those things that are all those fees that are helping you get to the finish line, you pay those. This buyer's agent commission, it's new and it's being lopped on, which sucks. It's a change, but that's the new scenario. And it means that you might have to come to closing with more cash. But it also changes this for the seller. The seller in our scenario was pretty generous. They gave up $24,000, 3% of the purchase price. And they don't care what you do with it. But if you agreed to pay your agent 3%, that means you owe them $24,000. The challenge for you as a buyer that's really important, and I hope you get the takeaway, is negotiating. Well, even the DOJ and NAR want you to negotiate this commission that you're going to pay up front. Now you're in a situation, weeks later, months later potentially, where the seller involved in this scenario has been generous enough to offer up some of their money from the profit of selling their house, 3%, giving it to you, but you've previously committed that away and you had no idea about the other costs involved that you were going to have to bring. This is a fundamental problem that you as a buyer need to be concerned about. And here's a solution. And I'm not here just ranting. I'm trying to share a real world scenario with you so you can process this and understand the situations that might arise, because I don't know if I can even help you buy a house. If you're not in San Diego, I can't do anything for you. I could refer you to someone, but I have no idea if they're capable of working the way I work and able to help you the way I can. But if you were here in San Diego and this was happening here, or you wanted to start your search in San Diego, because I'm a dual licensed agent with a California mortgage license as well as a real estate license, I can earn commission from both of those services. And when we bundle those together, I can dramatically reduce the real estate commission. You would be agreeing to pay me a very small amount, and we would be negotiating with the seller, potentially asking for, a few $1,000s versus $24,000. Or potentially the amount's going to be so small that you just pay it yourself, and we never bother the seller about my commission. This gives you a massive amount of leverage. You're getting a good loan because you would get to choose the best loan for you. I would represent you on the buy side, handling all the real estate negotiations. And when we get to this point, if there is $6,000 in repairs needed, that's all we're asking for. If sellers are agreeing to pay concessions, there's a good chance you're going to get all $6,000 from that seller to do the repairs that you want for your brand new house. You've paid me a little bit, but where I made most of my money was helping you with your loan. It's a one-stop shop. We're bundling my services. And this is where I'm completely different and why I'm not freaking out about what's happening in this industry, because I have a solution. I'm comfortable with the way my business is set up, and I've done things to ensure that I have a great offer to be able to help solve problems for you as a home buyer as well as a seller. There are so many benefits for sellers with these new NAR changes. And if the agents that you're meeting with aren't telling you all the options that you have of how to leverage these changes, and for these buyer agents, it's more important for them to negotiate their own commission than getting the offer accepted for their buyer. And because of that desperation from these buyer agents, you as a seller have a lot of leverage. And if your listing agents aren't talking to you about all the different ways that you can use these new rules to your benefit, don't hire them. If you're selling in San Diego, I can help you. And I will go over all these things with you. But you have to understand, you as buyers and sellers, honestly, 99% of real estate agents are looking out for themselves because of these changes versus their clients, because they don't know what's happening. And a lot of agents, whether they're top listing agents or buyer's agents, they are focused on keeping buyer agent commissions high and large enough to where different splits can be pulled out of them for team members, for brokers, for all the different fees that realtors pay. They want to keep these commissions inflated because it protects their job. Now, I don't want to work for free. I've gone through the educational process to have my loan license and do loans and understand mortgage, as well as gone through my real estate license. I've been licensed as a realtor since 2006, licensed since 2020 doing mortgages, because way back in 2018, I believed there was going to be a massive shakeup in the real estate industry. And while this is not what I thought it would be at all, it is happening. So if you want to talk about strategies to sell your house, happy to help you. Even if you're in a different state, I don't care. If you are planning to buy something, really consider giving me a call and letting me interview to be your agent and do your loan for you if you're here in San Diego. If you're anywhere else and you want help and I can help you, I will. Look forward to talking to you all. Be diligent, ask good questions, and make sure that if the agents that you are talking to, if they're not offering ways for you to save money based on these new rules, they might not be the best agent for you, and they might not be looking out for your best interest.